YouTube, North-South Connection. We're here to talk about the top matches for the WWE in 2025. Now, why am I doing this? Who knows? Everyone's doing a list like this. Why am I doing the top 25? Because I happen to have 25 matches rated over 4.25 stars. What is 4.25 stars? Well, star ratings are obviously subjective. And my scale is 4 stars is great. 4.5 stars is amazing. And 5 stars is you better call your grandmother and tell her because this is an all-time match and it's must see. 3.5 very good, 3 is good, right? So I happen to have 25 4.25 star plus matches, which are all great to amazing and plus. Will I have any 5? Perhaps. We'll have to see. Last year I had 2. WrestleMania 40 Night 2, Roman and Cody Rhodes, and Drew McIntyre and Cmpunk in Hell in a Cell. Will I have any this year? Who knows? Because the state of WWE is interesting. It's probably not as fluid as it was in 2023, 2024, because they have a let's just say in 2025 they've had a string of bad luck. If it's a Seth Rollins injury, if it is not figuring out Rhearipley. It is Roman Reigns being part-time. It's Cody Rhodes, kind of taking a backseat to John Cena, or if John Cena is your main plot and John Cena is a 48-year-old man. So in my opinion, 5-star matches rely heavily on stories, in-ring work. In-ring work, there was a plethora of great matches, hence why there are 25 4.25 star plus matches. So obviously there's, a high flux of volumes, but as of 2025, I feel that the WWE perhaps took a step back. And is that due to John Cena? We shall see, because he is on this list quite a bunch. But is the energy in the room, story-wise, kind of putting where the guys where they needed to be to hit that 5-star threshold where they have before in past years, like I just mentioned? So this is my first year that I'm doing, so let's kind of get into it. And I lied. I have a 4-star match. I only had 24 4.25 star matches. So it is from NXT in New York. It is a New York City street fight. Javon Evans versus Ethan Page in NXT Roadblock. I believe this is at Madison Square Garden, the venue attached to it. I don't remember off the rip, but it is 14 minutes and 41 seconds. Again, I'm not going to go match by match, move for move, because I'd like to keep this under a respectable time, but this is the best 4-star match that I had on my rankings, and it warrants. Why did it keep it away from 4.25? Perhaps maybe the length, maybe not enough juice to get you there. But I just remember this was kind of the jump off point to Javon Evans coming out of 2024. He was stuck. I don't want to say stuck, but he was stuck in a feud with Ethan Page. And it was more of a character of a development time for Javon Evans. And this is where he finally overcame Ethan Page, not winning the North American title, but really overcoming Ethan Page, doing a lot of character work and overcoming himself and propelling himself into the main event scene in NXT. So this was a great blow off, and this was a pretty great street fight. My biggest remembrance here is the crowd being electric. All right, number 24, Cmpunk versus Seth Rollins in a steel cage match from Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins wins via escape. All right, so obviously Cmpunk won the Raw Netflix debut, and he was kind of putting himself past Seth Rollins and had bigger, grandeur goals of winning the Royal Rumble and going to headline WrestleMania and getting the title back, right? So Seth Rollins and CM Punk have been pretty much at odds all year, and this was probably the second chapter of this year. And of course, it would come with Roman Reigns pulling Seth Rollins out and helping him win this match inconsequentially, not on purpose, but to kind of get at both of these guys, where Seth Rollins was the one that eliminated Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble and stomping him and so on and so forth. So this was set in, I want to say late March of 2025, and this would propel them to the triple threat match at WrestleMania, which we'll see much later on in this list. But this is probably the best one-on-one match between Seth and Punk all year. And unfortunately, these guys have kind of had a string of bad luck, and they were probably at this time they're not going to be able to kind of climax their feud here in 2025, perhaps in 2026, but this was a match of the year candidate, and injuries kind of took them off that path. So we'll see what 2026 brings them, but I feel bad for both guys, where they were doing pretty much good stuff all year long, and they were building up to having, back-to-back feuds of the year for CM Punk, and really just springboarding off that 2023 Survivor Series return and devoting 2023 to Drew McIntyre and now 2025 to Seth Rollins. And he finds himself as champion right now, and we'll see what 2026. All right, number 23, Ilya Dragunov versus Tommaso Ciampa in the U.S. Open Challenge. Now, this wasn't an official U.S. Open Challenge, but ever since Ilya Dragunov became United States champion, we're going to talk about him, spoiler, quite a bit here on this list, but he was a thorn in Tommaso Ciampa's side, pretty much. So, in retrospect, I like that this was Ilya's last defense before dropping it to Carmelo last night on Smackdown. But this was 17 minutes and 4 seconds. Guys, this was honestly brutal. Just like the last match, this is at 4 1/4. By the way, we're in our 4 1/4 stage if the audio listeners are not following along. But we have the spreadsheet here on YouTube. So you get off the audio and go to YouTube and check this out. But anyways, guys, this is a phenomenal match. And it built up just violently. And this was just Ilya at his strength. Ciampa going in his black and gold bag. And these guys really did deliver a slugfest of a great, amazing match to kick off really the U.S. title here on this list, but to put a kind of a chapter in the open book challenge as well. We'll see if that tradition carries on with Carmelo Hayes. It worked great for Sammy carrying on to Ilya. We'll see if they continue it with Carmelo. I assume they probably should, especially if SmackDown's going 3 hours. And I like that the suspense that it added to the final quarter of the year here in WWE. So this is the first of a few U.S. Open Challenge matches here on this list. All right, guys, number 22 is CM Punk versus Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre versus John Cena versus Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins in an Elimination Chamber match. This would be the number 1 contender for the WrestleMania WWE Championship. John Cena won this match, of course, and bigger things would happen that night. But I went 4 1/4 with this, 32 minutes and 40 seconds. Honestly, guys, I can't believe, looking back at all my lists and my star ratings and whatnot, I always have these elimination chambers in this 4 1/4, 4.5 range. And I really don't recall most of them. But what I do recall here is that awesome layout that they showed out in Unreal, where CM Punk is kind of laying out the match with Seth Rollins and John, and all these guys are involved. And it's like he made sure everyone got their quote unquote shit in. But just honestly, the ending, we'll get to that angle in a second, but the ending of the match where CM Punk eliminates Seth. Seth falls himself out of the ring. And then we have that first instinct of John versus Punk. You know, John's greatest rival, Punk's greatest rival. And there are stakes on the line here to go to WrestleMania and face Cody Rhodes. Never seen 17. Will it happen? CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. It's a dream match. All that crescendo was kind of boiling up here. And then Seth shows his ugly head and gives a curve stomp to CM Punk. And John Cena pulls him in for the wrenching in the STFU, and CM Punk passes out. So, and then we would have Cody come out. He would not give his soul, and we had the heel turn for a fantastic angle for that night. That for the year, we've had plenty of content here to go over that. But in that time, it is that moment with The Rock and the heel turn overshadowed this match. But still, number 22, this match warrants it for sure to be on the list. All right, number 21, NXT, stand up and get in the room here. Vengeance Day, Fraxium versus Briggs and Inamura. I love Inamura. I think Yoshiki Inamura could be like a main roster guy. I think it could be Otis on steroids. I think he has a unique charisma in his not native area or his not native land, just shines. And I thought he excelled in NXT and maximized all his minutes. I liked the work that he did with Briggs. Briggs went over to Japan, did his thing, and linked up with Inamura. And I thought this really carried NXT filler to start the whole year. Inamura and Briggs have great work together in NXT in the short 6 or 7 months that they were a team. But, you know, Fraxium has a plethora of matches, the 2024 Tag Team of the Year, and that spilled over here into 2025. And they still do good with SmackDown now when it's called for. But, you know, I'm sure 2026 will be the year of SmackDown for Fraxium. We'll get into that more later. But they end their NXT run with 2 bangers. And I think this one's a little bit better than the Hank and Take one at Stand and Deliver, which was also great. Not on the list, unfortunately. But this one is kind of forgotten about because it's sandwiched in right before that big blow off where they lose the title. I thought Igamora and Briggs had him here, and Fraxium squeak out to kind of make it to Stand and Deliver. But yeah, this is only 10 minutes and 24 seconds, but I would check it out if you're not familiar with either team or NXT. NXT has a different like pacing in a way, but Fraxium maximized every minute that they had within that pacing. So this is a great match, guys. Check it out. All right, number 20 is the Royal Rumble match from 2025. Your surprise winner, Jey Uso. Is this the only time we're going to see Jey Uso? Perhaps, perhaps not. We'll see. But surprising, Jey Uso won this match. Very similar to where we talked about at the Elimination Chamber a few matches ago, that this was John Cena's time, and this is where he's going to solidify himself to go to WrestleMania. But no, they pull a rabbit out of the hat, and Jey was probably like 5th or 6th or 7th, maybe even on the Vegas betting odds to win this match, and he did. And it was a great moment, and it really did make him to maximize what he would be in 2025. Is Jey Uso going to be world champ again? Perhaps. I don't know. I thought the title length was strong enough to leave his fans wanting more, and perhaps when he get there, you didn't have the fatigue of him. But I feel that he needs to evolve as a character to kind of get himself there. But this was an all-time Rumble. Rumbles are hard to rate, but I always seem to, similar to the Chamber, be higher than most on them. And this definitely warrants, probably, I'm sure Justin and I will do a countdown on the top Rumbles one day, so to speak. But this will probably be in the upper tier of top Rumbles, not at that top tier of like 92, 01, at that lengths, right? But you have definitely that second lower great Royal Rumbles, right? So, kudos to them for taking the chance on Jey Uso. And I think that they really did maximize what he could be. And I think his run next time could and should be bigger if they protect him and kind of set him up right. And I feel that they will. Number 19, the Ring General, Gunther. The last time is now. Tournament winner. But not that match quite yet. This is where he faced Javon Evans at Madison Square Garden and had an excellent match. Gunther wins via submission in 15 minutes. The crowd was yearning for Javon Evans. Gunther comes out in his like boxing robe, and it looked a little off, but it fit, right? And it's like we haven't seen Gunther since SummerSlam. And what is Gunther going to be right now? Because it's been rumored for a while that he's going to be the one to retire John Cena or have the final match in the retirement tour of John Cena. So what are we going to get here? And Javon Evans was the perfect guy to kick it off, because honestly, Javon Evans is on this list quite a bit. Is this the last time? Perhaps not. But Javon Evans has been showcased and is my 2025 breakout star for the WWE, and I think his future is bright. But Javon Evans versus Gunther is a must-watch. It is a great way to kick off Gunther in this tournament here. And shout out, your boy fucked up. Honorable mention here, Solo Sikoa and Gunther was an excellent slugfest. Easily Solo Sikoa's best match. It was probably left off the list. It should have been added to the list and spot in the Ethan Page, Javon Evans spot, but it slipped through my thumbs. And I just realized that here, and I went and checked, and it's true. It slipped through the cracks. So we're not perfect here. I counted 25, but I had to recount, and I had 24. It's because this match slipped through the cracks. So honorable mention, Solo and Gunther from this tournament as well. Gunther, easily Solo's best match, and it was built phenomenally, and it was unconventional, two heels going at it, right? So, and it warranted the respect of the fans to garner the respect and reaction that it got down the stretch, right? So check that match out as well. All right, guys, number 18 is Ethan Page. Second time making the list for Ethan Page versus Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali was fired in 2023, where he was in a pay-per-view or a PLE match for the North American Championship. So here we are 2 years later, plus some months, and Mustafa Ali was finally getting his match for the North American title. And where has he been the last 2 years? Mostly TNA and the Indies. But he's been doing a great job in TNA, and I love that they used that relationship with TNA to bring him back here to showcase him here at NXT versus TNA Showdown. This match went 14 minutes and 19 seconds, but the last 5 or 6 minutes of this match is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Mustafa Ali had a plethora of great matches in 205 Live and really helped carry the water of that brand way back in the day. And that warranted him a call to Smackdown or Raw. And that was shaky at times, but his in-ring work never wavered. And he showed he can still go and be a main roster WWE wrestler anytime they please. He showed the skill set that he truly has here on this night. And all I can think when I think of this match and I close my eyes, I think of that the table spot, which led to that cable getting stuck on Mustafa Ali's leg as he went and he brought that from the table to the top rope, and it translated to the ring where he goes for that near fall. And I thought he had. I said, wow, they're going to really give him the North American title. But no, Ethan Page squeaks it out. Guys, this is a phenomenal match. This is one of my favorite matches. But for 14 minutes, and it still gets, amazing territory, warrants it for sure. Check it out. Absolutely. I know that's the second time I've waxed poetically about an NXT match, but it warrants it in my opinion. It's the least popular out of the 3 WWE bands, and I just want to kind of give them their flowers here as well. So please check that match out if you have not yet. All right, number 17 is a 6-way TLC tag team match at SummerSlam. Andrade and Rey Fenix, DIY, Fraxium, Motor City Machine Guns, the Wyatt Six, the Street Profits. This was a barn burner in 16 minutes even. Wyatt Six won. You got Uncle Howdy out there. You got Candice LeRae taking crazy bumps with her husband and Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa is a low-key, under-the-radar guy on this list. Second time making it, perhaps a third coming up. But I can just remember the bumps that he took. This match was phenomenal. Johnny Gargano just showed that those guys really still have it and are the glue to the SmackDown division. And then you have guys like Fraxium that I talked about earlier, showing that they can still be carry the water for this division if called upon. Street Profits veterans, Motor City veterans show that they can be used much more on Raw if needed, but are still valuable to the SmackDown. And then this weird mix of Andrade in his last WWE match, filling in for Penta, right? Why don't we have the Lucha Bros? But we don't. But the finish, honestly, is kind of why it's a lesser of the 4 1/4 matches for me, because I'm sure people have this match higher. But I just don't understand the direction of going with the Wyatts for the last half of the year when the first half of the year, the SmackDown division is cranking. They're bouncing the title around a little bit, but it's working. The teams are getting over. It's 3 hours, so you're getting 2 tag team matches a night, and you're showing guys going out there and delivering the quality that the tag team division should get. And it's based around all the guys in this matches. But we continue to play with the Wyatt Six, and perhaps it's going to lead to the MFTs, and that's the direction. Whatever. I don't think that needs the tag team titles, but it is what it is. So that's probably why this is a little lower on the list than others would think. Number 16, Yeet! Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins in a draw, a no contest for the World Heavyweight Championship on Monday Night Raw, 4 1/4. This match went 19 minutes and 54 seconds. Guys, this is an excellent match. I have it this high. And I don't even think any of you guys would have thought it would have been on the list. And it's a no contest. What are we doing? Guys, I can't talk about it enough. It's a phenomenal match. This is where Seth Rollins excels in the crescendos of these high stakes one-on-one matches where he is urgent and he has that babyface fire. We saw that energy here tonight with Jey Uso, but we had the yearning of Jey Uso to keep the belt. And we got that. The crowd was wanting Jey to keep it, but they felt the threat of Seth, who was aligned with Paul. So the climax of this match, you saw Seth Rollins with the pedigree where you kind of thought the match was over. You had like a parade of feuds kind of culminating on why this match was a DQ. You would have Division get it counterpointed by Samizayn, who would also get counterpointed by Cmpunk, which caused the actual disqualification. And then after that, you would have Logan Paul, not yet in the Vision, but later in the year would become the part of the Vision, come out and kind of be like, yeah, I'm coming for you next, Jey, right? And you would see that at Saturday Night's Main Event, and it really wasn't that good. But it was a parade of Gaga that worked and added to the stakes. And I'm glad that Jey Uso has this match on his resume. And it was funny that they wanted to kind of protect Seth, because you would see what would happen with Seth in SummerSlam and coming out and him being the one to be the world champion. They hoped to end the year, so they didn't really want to beat him, but they wanted to use his star power to put over Jey as his title reign would be something before it would end, in 3 months or whatever, right? So again, one of the most underrated matches I've talked about, in my opinion, so far. All right, and you want to talk underrated? Let's talk Chad Gable. I think Chad Gable was hurt after this match, or he was hurt going into this match. Chad Gable versus Vikingo, pretty much, right? So it's Vikingo is your AAA mega champion, and this is the first ever Worlds Collide match. And of course, you have the El Grande Americano thing. Is he not? And that's obviously, now we still have El Grande with Ludwig. So obviously, El Grande was a big part of the AAA factor going forward, Gable or not. But I love that they had Gable here in this spot, not El Grande. And this match is phenomenal. I'm running out of 4.25 matches, and perhaps some had it higher. 22 minutes even. I talked about pacing with Seth Rollins down the hatchet, down the crescendo. Chad Gable is the personification of that. When the skin is on the line and Chad Gable, and it's time to get getting, Chad Gable can get getting. I can't wait for him to return in 2026, and I hope they go with him, and I think they will, right? He is a stud, and I'm wondering what he could be with an actual push, right? I don't want to be like, the actual push or whatever, but he's a dude. Like, let's get after it, right? So, yeah, and Vikingo, it was a great way to kind of propel him and introduce him on the WWE stage with probably the most trusted guy in the WWE in that verse, right? Look what he did to Penta. Look what he done with a plethora of guys, and that's Chad Gable. He deserves his flowers, and I hope he gets it in 2026 once he returns. I've seen pictures of recently on Instagram, and the guy is fucking all of his 5'8" frame is yak joke and ready to rock and roll, tan, and Chad Gable, we love you. Just return healthy and ready to go. Number 14, Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov, U.S. Open Challenge. I believe this is the second one here. This is where Sami Zayn was dethroned as the United States champion, and Ilya returned off of his knee injury for the last year plus. 19 minutes and 21 seconds. I'm sure there was a commercial in it, which maybe hindered it a little bit on why we didn't get to up. But I still am a big proponent of these open challenges here. This is the second one. We'll see many, many more. I loved the urgency, and what the WWE does best here is when, I keep saying, that crescendo as we get into the heat in the final minutes here, just the urgency for Ilya to win this match, and the urgency for Sami to hold on to that title, because he knows how important it is to be a champion, and it makes him relevant. And Sami's always fighting for relevancy in his character in the WWE, and he had it as U.S. champion. He had it with these U.S. Open challenges, and for him to kind of keep that and hold on to it, you could really feel it through the screen. And there was always rumors of Sami Zayn, the 2026 being his year. We'll see about that. I don't know if they maybe soured on him, or if it's just not time yet. I don't think that they soured on him. I just think his timing is everything. And I hope career-wise, his timing wasn't 2023, where he was at his absolute peak. I like Sami Zayn, and when he's wrestling on your show is just better. Right. So, we hope for the best for Sami Zayn. And I'd like to hear back, Sami Zayn versus Ilya, who had the better U.S. Open challenge, in your guys' opinion? All right, number 13. About time we get some fucking women on this list, guys, right? What a misogynist asshole I am. But anyways, number 13, the first of a few women's matches, and that's Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Lyra for the women's Intercontinental title at Evolution. 16 minutes and 30 seconds. And this opened the show, and it was all of the 16 minutes. This is Bayley and Lyra. The feud was bubbling. Bayley was kind of always on the outskirts of it, where Becky returned and replaced Bayley in the WrestleMania match, which kind of sped where they won the belts. And then the next night they dropped them back to Raquel and Liv. And then Becky had the heel turn. And her mission was to really make that women's Intercontinental Championship. And she did make that women's Intercontinental Championship. Becky's had an under-the-radar great year, in my opinion. She hasn't been used at the tip top, but she's been very effective. And I feel that she is fulfilled as an artist, or however you want to phase that I think that she's having fun at this point of her career. And the meat of her run here was with Lyra. And I think that I share the same sentiment that Becky shares, that her SummerSlam match was a bit disappointing, because it felt all of that 20 whatever minutes it was. It's just the stipulation perhaps just didn't fit the crescendo like they thought it would. The weapons looked too much like toys, where the feud was kind of built off of really just proving yourself to each other, where they're chummy, they're friends, and it's the veteran and it's the understudy, right? So I don't think that it was personal enough to kind of have the blow off at SummerSlam be so weaponsy, so to speak. It just didn't translate, where Lyra squeaked out a win at Backlash, right? And then when Becky squeaked out the win at Money in the Bank, that you saw that everything was building to getting the one up on each other. And of course, the feud got personal, because that's what happens within feuds. But I don't think that the blow off really fit the feud that they were building. So, hats off to Becky. I think she had a great year. And honestly, Bayley has recovered as well. I love that they threw this Bayley here at Evolution, because Bayley kind of didn't get a WrestleMania moment, but she got her Evolution moment as well. So good stuff for this Intercontinental feud in the middle of this year. Number 12, Sami Zayn versus John Cena to kick off the United States Open Challenge. I love the segment that we got with these two. And this is a draw, no contest. But this match still does justice above the rest of the 4.25 stars, in my opinion. I love the build here. Again, Sami is just a great foil for any opponent in ring. And I thought that he brought out some of the best stuff in John Cena. Once John Cena was over that heel turn, so to speak, he had the great match with Cody. But then what was John Cena? And this was the first match coming out of that. And you could see that the respect that John had for Sami at Saturday night's main event with the sun and the front row seat and all that stuff. So in retrospect here, you could see that John wanted to go out there and kind of lean on Sami to prove that he can finish this final run with a bunch of great matches. And Sami Zayn really did ground John Cena in, maybe give him back some of his confidence, because we're going to talk about the Cody match much later. But that was, in my opinion, kind of like a cheat code in a way, like structure-wise. But this was meat and potatoes in ring movement, and it crushed. Again, Brock Lesnar coming out, it didn't sour for me. Maybe perhaps it made it 4.25, not 4.5. I loved it. I love that this reintroduced the U.S. Open Challenge, and perhaps this is the last time we're talking about the U.S. Open Challenge. Maybe not. But I love these two together, and I love the historical tones that it added as well. And yeah, it definitely warrants 12. Some people probably won't have it this high, but I adored this match. I thought it was excellent. John Cena versus AJ Styles is not in the top 10. It is my last 4.25 star match. I've seen this be people's match of the year. And are they wrong? No, it's subjective. If 4.25 plus is an all-time match, I stole that from War, and it's true. But why isn't this in the top 10? Let's talk about why it's not for me. Of course, I love the Firefly stuff. I love the callbacks. I love all that. But that's what it was. It was a callback. It felt like an exhibition match, where maybe the matches in the top 10 all had story and stakes, like I talked about early, that you were able to sink your teeth into here. Here, you just sunk your teeth into nostalgia, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It just didn't carry anywhere near 5 for me, and I still gave it its respect of 4.25, and it was the best 4.25 match. So, was this match for me? No, but I still see it's the greatness in it, of course, and I still think it's amazing to a point as well. I just felt that it didn't talk to me at that level like other matches did this year. And are you wrong if you have this as John Cena's best match of 2025 or your match of the year? Absolutely not. I can see why 100%. So maybe it's just not for me, but I can definitely see why it's number 11 opposed to not being on the list at all or lower on the 4.25 scale, since this was the last 4.25 match for us. We're in the top 10, and we have an NXT match from Stand and Deliver that is Obafemi, Javon Evans, and Trick Williams. Whoop, that Trick is officially a part of the main roster in 2026. But was he on NXT too long here at Stand and Deliver? Perhaps, because it felt like Javon Evans was on the arrival, and it felt like Javon Evans had the biggest support from the crowd here, and the yearning for everyone wanting Javon to win was felt. Obafemi was your dominant NXT champion. Again, he's still your NXT champion, but there was a blimp on the radar in between there. And perhaps should they have gone with Javon at some point this year? Perhaps. Should they have gone with him this night? Perhaps. But that urgency to crown Javon Evans at Stand and Deliver is what carried the momentum of this match. That whole weekend was a three-ways wet dream. If there ever was, the whole weekend was full of three-way matches. And we're going to talk about a few of them much later here on this list. But because of that, this one is a little bit under the radar or forgotten about. But I think this is the NXT match of the year. But it definitely warrants a 4.5. And all I can recall is the urgency to crown Javon Evans, and building the match structure around that really propelled this to not an all-time match, but to an amazing atmosphere and spectacle in 17 minutes, pretty much. So good shit. Again, if you haven't seen these NXT matches, they're not hard to find. Actually, fuck, they may be now with a Peacock. Who knows where they are, but go find them and seek them out. They're definitely worth your time. All right, number 9, Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes. Ladder match, Royal Rumble, WWE Championship, Wing Eagle Championship, 25 minutes, 4.5 stars. Guys, Kevin Owens is on this list twice, spoiler, and I think that he only had 2 or 3 matches all year. How fucked up was his neck on the coming into this match? And then he gave us this, and then the Sammy match, and then he was going to give us the Randy Orton match. Like, what would this year look like with a healthy Kevin Owens, or maybe an acceptable Kevin Owens? I don't know how to put it. But again, a match that's kind of forgotten about because Cody Rhodes would go on to have the year that he had. We're going to talk about him again, so it's not like it's a bad year whatsoever. But Kevin Owens, he's been out since March, and he was left Randy Orton without a WrestleMania match, and they were building to that WrestleMania match with Randy Orton for 6, 7, 8 months, and it was all built around Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens had a fantastic feud in the similar role where they had with Drew now, with like hiccups and missteps as you thought, but it told a good story that concluded here. And then you would see it on Real too, as well as like, hey, you good? That was pretty fucking violent. That was more violent than we anticipated. I don't think you realize or remember how violent this match was. And then the state that Kevin Owens' neck was in, crazy. Kevin Owens, I don't know if we'll see you in 2026. I sure hope so, though. Great 2 matches in 2025. We'll talk about the other one much later, but it definitely warrants number 9 here. All right, number 8 is Bianca Belair, Iyosky, and Rhearipley triple threat women's world title WrestleMania 41 Day 2 opener. Number 8, 4.5 stars. Might catch some heat on this one, guys. It is not my best women's match of the WWE or my match of the year. I've talked to some people, and they've said that this is their match of the year. For me, I don't think I had the investment to get there, but the delivery was definitely amazing out of the women, hence the 4.5 star match rating that I gave it. It really, really was a 15-minute exciting layout of a match, and that's what it was designed to do. And I think, in my opinion, they maximized what it should have been. Due to the structure of the match, 15 minutes, spot fest, and the story coming in, clunky, uninspiring, confusing in a way. Like, it didn't feel, outside of Io, that the other 2 women were where they should be heading into WrestleMania season, in my opinion. Rhea was acting weird. Remember when she lost and she freaked out, and she was just acting unlike herself, unlike the likable traits that got her over. And then Belair with the whole Bianca and Jade stuff, but she's going to go for this title. And why aren't we doing the dream match between Bianca and Rhea? It just felt like a continuation, but what it was them maximizing what they were at WrestleMania. I'm just telling you why it wasn't that 5-star spectacle or that match of the year in my opinion. But again, for what it was, definitely warrants number 8 on my list. I'm going to probably get some heat from it, but I stand by my decision here. But again, great match, women, for sure. Amazing, honestly, 4.5. Talk about catching some heat here. Number 7, Gunther versus John Cena, the winner of the Last Time Is Now tournament. Gunther dethroning via submission John Cena, Saturday night's main event, 23 minutes, 24 seconds. 4.5 stars I gave it. I think this match, the lore of this match is going to grow. I think the emotion of the tap will kind of dissipate, and I think Gunther is honestly set up to not fail. I think the tap out is going to do justice to Gunther, and they're going to do justice with the tap out in Gunther. Let's put it that way, right? I love the decision to have John tapped. I thought it was poetic. I thought it was accepting the end of his career. I get it. I see the side of never give up. He's never given up. Like the message that it would send. I see your argument there, but I just he was done, and you could feel that he was done, and he was accepting it, and he wanted to give back, and Gunther was the guy to give back, and he is the future. And is he the tip-top guy? No, but he is a cog in the machine to make future stars. I think when we look back, we see a Gunther versus Brock match, and you can see what they both did to John. That story, that Brock Lesnar and John Cena match, which is nowhere near on this list, will make sense. And did they sacrifice a John match for it? Yeah, sure, whatever. But it's to build with the Gunther lore. And I think that the Gunther lore is going to really propel itself coming out of this even more. And Gunther, who was low-key damaged in a way, losing to Sammy and Jay on back-to-back WrestleManias, in my opinion, wasn't the sexiest move or wasn't my favorite move. It just felt that they were kind of maybe bastardizing the Gunther name in a way for Sammy and Jay, who are, guys that I've talked about on this list that I like, but don't feel that we should maybe ending Gunther's title reigns with them, right? But it is what it is. This was a great way to, I don't want to say rehab Gunther, but really propel him to where he needs to go, because he was gatekept at that Cody, Roman, Punk lane, and you got guys like Breaker propelling way up the card. So, they need players up top, and Gunther is without a doubt a player coming out of this match now. And John obviously approved of this, and perhaps it was maybe even his idea to tap as well. So I liked it. I loved the reaction live, the shock, the awe. It was awesome to be there. I didn't feel that I wasted my money or my time going down there. It was an experience, and I'm glad I was a part of it. So I'm probably a lot higher than most on this match, but I stand by it. I kept moving it up, and up, and I feel that this is a safe place to put it, and I kind of want to move it up more, but number 7, and I can go on about this match all night. Number 7 definitely warrants it, in my opinion. Number 6, Smackdown. Triple threat TLC match the Friday night after WrestleMania. DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Street Profits. Whew. 4.5 stars still in the 4.5 star range. Guys, this is phenomenal. 22 minutes and 52 seconds. I believe this is in the 3-hour era. This is the same night as the NFL draft. I'm pretty sure there was no commercials, and that obviously helped the match. It was pay-per-view quality. If they wouldn't have had this on WrestleMania, this match would have been kind of forgotten about like at SummerSlam, but it wouldn't have hit the peak that it got here, because on SmackDown with no commercials, in 6 hungry guys, you got a presentation of like, let's give them a WrestleMania show match stealer. And this had all of the TLC 1, 2, 3 vibes. Honestly, this match is forgotten about because the SummerSlam match, maybe people had a little higher, but no. This is leaps and tears above, in my opinion. The bumps were violent. I talked about Ciampa earlier. The spear that he took from Montez, just some of the acrobatic bumps. It was violent. It was a spectacle. And you don't really have young whippersnappers in here either, right? DIY and Motor City Machine Guns are on the north end of 40, and then the Street Profits have been in the company for quite a while too as well. So yeah, these guys were hungry, and they went out there and delivered the 6th best match of the year, in my opinion. This match is phenomenal. If you haven't seen it in a while, please go seek it out. And I'm not even a proponent of these ladders and these TLC matches, but this one was done so well. I can't recommend it enough. Number 5, iyosky versus Rhearipley, the main event of Evolution. They were building to Rhea has never, ever, ever defeated iyosky, dating all the way back to NXT, and she is still not defeated iyosky. They are building a 5-star match. They truly are. This match between them two, could they main event a WrestleMania one day? Right now in December, I cannot see Rhearipley main eventing a WrestleMania. I can't. I think she's lost a little of her allure. Of course she can regain it. But I feel that if we looked at where she was 2 years ago and where we would project her and where she's kind of used now in the women's division, to be short, she had Cody and Roman upside, in my opinion, to be faces of the company, to build a company around. But that just doesn't seem like they do that with the women's division when she is the one that kind of should. So could she main event WrestleMania night 1 in Vegas this year? Perhaps. I doubt it. But her opponent would be iyosky, and they showed what they could do on the grandest stage. I think the smaller arena of Evolution helped these women because the place was boiling. And when Naomi came out to cash in, it was a shocking, oh my God moment. And on the post show, we talked about, was it worth the squeeze to have the moment, or do you go out there and deliver the match? And in my opinion, you got both. You got the moment in the match. But will Io and Rhea ever get to the peak of an in-ring match that they were getting to? Crescendo, they were building towards like a 5-star match, right? Will they ever get there? Rhea hasn't had that much build in a match since her Charlotte match, where she was crowned at 39. Will she ever get there again? That's the risk that they I don't want to say wasted, because the moment and the shock of Naomi coming out and cashing in was like you had like two sides of your brains on whatever side of the brain, moment or match, fighting against each other. And was it perfect? No, but it was amazing. Let's put it that way. It was amazing. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, obviously, Naomi and Jimmy are having a baby. I'm sure they would not change that whatsoever. But unfortunately for WWE Creative, that pregnancy maybe broke off a few things planning-wise with the Belair thumb injury that we haven't seen her since WrestleMania 31, maybe with Jade, and then you had her mixed in with the Rhea and the Io of it all. So there was like, they had a lot of stories combining and colliding. You unfortunately did not get a conclusion that you kind of wanted in a way as well. So, but again, number 5, the match or the moment, will they ever get to the crescendo that they were at? We shall see one day. But they had it that night, and man, that was the match of the year for the women for sure, and definitely warrants a top 5 in my opinion. All right, guys, number 4 is your last 4.5-star match of the year, and that is Cody Rhodes versus John Cena in a street fight at SummerSlam Night 1. Big match John, Super Cena. He's a good guy. The entrance was phenomenal live. And going 37 minutes and 45 seconds did not feel like they went 37 minutes and 45 seconds live there in the arena or on rewatch. Of course, it's a street fight. Super Cena just turned back babyface, and he had to do the deed to Cody Rhodes. So it's just like, I just turned face, but I have to do the deed for Cody. I got to return the favor, but Super Cena's back. There wasn't a satisfying ending to the heel turn. He just kind of was just like, I'm back. Cody brought me back. I think they could have been a lot more creative from that aspect, and that is probably a low-key, under-the-radar reason why people think John's year wasn't what it should be. I went C+, B- on John Cena this year as a whole, and this is John's match of the year. Spoiler, R-Truth from Saturday Night's Main Event did not make the top 3. Sorry about that, Ron and John Cena. But this match, similar to the AJ one, was a shortcut of a street fight. Of course, it warrants the all-time rating of 4.5 plus. It's the best 4.5. It's not the match of the weekend from SummerSlam, in my opinion. It is easily the match of the night. It's better than the TLC by leaps and bounds. It's John's best match of the year. It's Cody's best match of the year. If it's yours, without a shadow of a doubt, like AJ, I can see why it should be. Just for me, the shortcuts, like the shortcuts of the street fight and the investment of like John's back, baby. Is he back, baby? Something's lingering too, by the way. Is it The Rock? What is it? But the match, we'll get that in a second. But the match itself, 4.5, and the best 4.5 match of the year, and number 4 match of the year. So, by the way, I'm not weighing this in my match rating whatsoever, but being there for Brock live, electric city, right? And Super Cena was officially back, but just like, and sometimes in his career, Super Cena came up a little short. And did it put over Cody like they anticipated it would? I don't think Cody is where he is as he was last year, but I still think Cody Rhodes has plenty of equity of being a top guy, of course, right? So I think he's a little damaged, and I think this you're seeing it a little bit in the Drew feud, so to speak, right? So kind of just, in my opinion, Cody was like a little sacrifice for the year of John Cena, so to speak. But I still think he's fine. He will be fine, right? All right, boys, we're in the meat and the potatoes of this. The top 3, the 4 3/4 stage we've reached, and it's CM Punk with Paul Heyman versus Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Triple threat match, night 1, WrestleMania main event. Again, I think this is kind of forgotten about. And honestly, I don't even think me and Chad did the post show with me, and I don't think we did this match justice. I think Chad was very high on it, and I was extremely high on it, and it shows it here. But I think that the lore of Seth and the vision not being what it was kind of projected to be, but similar to the Judgment Day with Edge, in my opinion, where the Judgment Day with Edge, it did a great job of launching the Judgment Day, but it kind of it wasn't what we thought it would be. And the vision, it kind of wasn't what we thought it'd be, as we kind of find the vision's find his footing now, but the vision was spawned from this main event result. And that is Seth Rollins defeating both Roman and Punk in the main event, with with Paul Heyman turning on CM Punk lastly, right? After turning on Roman Reigns. And the meldination of all of that. And the match itself was excellent. It was well wrestled. You have Seth Rollins, you have CM Punk, and you have Roman Reigns, and all of them were determined to steal WrestleMania. Name the last time Roman Reigns was not on night 2. There's levels to this, right? So Roman Reigns wanted to prove that he is still top dog. Maybe Cody has supplanted him as top dog, and John is back for his little cute legacy run. That's the vibe that I would have for 2026 with Roman Reigns. And you saw that this night. His performance was excellent. This was WrestleMania 39-esque, 40-esque, where Roman brought his wrestling boots. Seth, again, he was still always a gatekeeper from the guys that I talked about, where Gunther is kind of gatekept out of that tip-top role that I talked about a little bit earlier. Seth was always gatekept out of that role. Here, he was kind of cemented into that role. Is it worth the juice, in my opinion, to put Seth Rollins in this spot? Homeboy's injury prone. Of course, that's not his fault. Or do they project injuries? They shouldn't. But unfortunately, he is. But I just feel as a character, and why I was down a little bit on the vision to start, I just don't feel like he connects at that tip-top tier. Wrestling-wise, he can hang with any of them. He's the personification of WWE style, right? Love it or hate it. But what I take away most from this is the CM Punk entrance and the moment with Living Color, all that stuff. Excellent stuff. Was it 5? I know Justin had it 5. I think it was pretty close to 5. I think it was just closer to 4.5 than 5. That's why it's the least of the 4 3/4 stars and not 5 stars on this list. But yeah, excellent. Under the radar historically, WrestleMania main event. Number 2, Kevin Owens is back versus Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match. Kevin Owens wins via pinfall. 27 minutes and 35 seconds, 4 3/4 stars, guys. Phenomenal. I went back and forth with this being the one or the match that I have above it, but I went with the match above it that we'll get to in a second. But man, Guys, the lights were literally out in the arena. There was a dim light, and they had the arena by the balls. It was violent. It was physical. It was dangerous. It was crazy to think Kevin Owens, again, with a broken fucking neck. They said this was their WrestleMania, where Sami Zayn was not scheduled to be on WrestleMania. And this is their home arena. They're in Toronto. Montreal, Toronto, same thing, right? Right, A? Kelly Nelson? No. But it's electric. And you think that you would have The Rock and Cody turning and all that stuff on this night as well. And this was not an afterthought. This Elimination Chamber is a phenomenal pay-per-view this year. And that the phenomenalness of it is off the backs of these two guys. I think Sami Zayn would go on to be out for a total of, I think he was in the Money in the Bank qualifier. So I think he was out until a few weeks after WrestleMania. So he'd be out for 2 months out, I think, coming out of this. And then Kevin was out 2 weeks after this, after he kicked off the Randy Orton program heading into WrestleMania. So unsanctioned, these guys have a rich history. But this match is at the top of the list within the WWE in that rich history. I know it's ROH and all that stuff. PWG, they have a plethora of matches as well. But I feel that if you ask them, this would be their masterpiece. And 4 1/4 or 4 3/4 is a phenomenal borderline all-time match, and it should be. If it is on yours, absolutely, hands down. Violent, unsafe but safe. It's a vibe for sure. Check it out, guys. And number 1, Cmpunk versus Gunther, singles match, World Heavyweight Championship, SummerSlam Night 1, 30 minutes, 20 seconds, 4 3/4. No 5-star matches this year, guys. There just wasn't. And this was probably the closest. I didn't weigh the cash-in. Even the cash-in was an all-time moment. But just sitting on the floor in that MetLife stands and watching this match build, this is an old school build. Is this the most electric 30 minutes? No. But the story that it told is phenomenal. Of course, CM Punk is on the back half of 40, on the wrong side of 40 plus a few, right? And the pacing obviously played into that. But the story of CM Punk chasing the big bad heel Gunther in this match and just outlasting him and saving his win and salvating his win and holding on to his win and pacing himself while holding on to the angst of the beatdown. It just told a beautiful, beautiful story. The chops were thunderous. The power bombs, you could feel them. They hurt your own skull and bones. And just the dawning threat of the rumors of Seth overshadowing it, right? And then you get to the floor and the hope that CM Punk jolted into his body, so to speak, when he wiped Gunther out the same way that he did Drew at WrestleMania, right? When Drew was cashed in on Priest, right? That's why I thought that was a layer that you didn't really see or was talked about. But when he swept Gunther's feet underneath him, and Gunther did the blood capsule, the blade job, whatever you want to call it, whatever magic you want to look at, and came up in the crimson mask of Gunther. You don't, in a beautiful, effective way to use blood in the WWE that you don't get every fucking week, every Wednesday or Friday that you get a bloody match, right? You get it once, twice, every few years, but it was so underlining effective. And the way that match built and the way that the blood added vulnerability to Gunther and hope to CM Punk, and that blood threw oxygen into the lungs of CM Punk, and it really gave him that next gear and the urgency to win. And I love the callback to the first match too of the year of CM Punk, where he kind of thought that he got rid of Seth Rollins so he can go chase the World Heavyweight Championship, and that's the GTS, and then the GTS that shocks the opponent into the ropes, and then he falls back on CM Punk, and then CM Punk has to go up and he finds the opponent on his shoulders, and CM Punk has to go up back for another GPS or another GTS, and he delivers a thunderous GTS for the 1, 2, 3. I thought it was bunch of underlining callbacks. I told it was a basic, great story built around the strengths of Gunther, the strengths of 45 plus CM Punk. And it truly, truly was an excellent, excellent match. And I'm not even weighing in the moment of the cash in. That's its own thing. Justin gave this match 5. I went 4 3/4. I think I didn't go the full Bonte just because there was some, I don't want to say dullness in this match because it was a part of the story. I don't think they had the feud within the story to kind of get me to the full 5, but this was a high 4 3/4. All-time match from CM Punk performance-wise at his age. And I don't even want to bring that up. The guy could still obviously look at, he's been on this list 100 times. He's been on this list a plethora of times. So for CM Punk to say that he is at an age where he can't go, I don't mean it like that when I bring that up. It's just the story of the old guy trying to chase Gunther and regain the top of the WWE after being gone for X amount of 10, 15 years, so to speak. And he finally gets it. And then the looming threat that we had all match of Seth Rollins and that threat of Seth coming out. Again, I'm not weighing that, but I think that played into the match as well. And then, of course, he had the title for 5 minutes. It was stolen underneath him, and Seth Rollins dethroned him and regained the WWE title. And that I wanted to see what that story was to conclude 2025. Perhaps we would have gotten Seth versus Punk at that Netflix anniversary in Brooklyn and next week on Raw. Perhaps where we would have gotten that blown off, maybe. We shall see. But it just sucks because this was, in my opinion, like the kickoff to the final third of their feud. And of course, they would insert the wives after that. And they had feud of the year upside, and unfortunately, they didn't really get that because of the injury. But yeah, Gunther, man, might be my favorite wrestler of the year still. But we're at the end here, guys. Thanks for listening. But first, let's do one little quick exercise. So CM Punk, the first being, let's look at all the times CM Punk made it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times CM Punk was on this list. Now let's look at Gunther. 1, 2, 3. 3 times Gunther was on the list. And he had a few vacations this year, both after title losses. Cena is another interesting name. Let's look at Cena. Cena, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times Cena was on the match. Good for Cena, man. That's why I had this at a B. He's running a B-. There's still, look at that. Zayn's, AJ, Gunther, Cody. Those are still matches that are warranted, in my opinion, to have top 12 matches of the year. Could show that at 48 Cena could still go. Kevin Owens, look at that. 2 matches in WWE this year, maybe a little bit more, but still 2 matches on PLEs, and they both made the top 9. Unreal year for KO in limited time. Unfortunately, he's out. Ciampa made it 3 times. The old black and gold pride right there. The Ilya match and the 2 ladders matches. Man, Ciampa, I think I would not hate if he got a US or an IC run in his future. I wouldn't hate it. Or more DIY. I don't care. All right, Seth Rollins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times Seth Rollins made this list. Again, a guy with the fake injury and then at the tail end of the year with the real injury. So if Seth Rollins is a quintessential WWE guy, and you can see why. Sami Zayn, number 2, number 12, number 14, and he was a part of the Royal Rumble. Good year from Sami in limited minutes. All right, Javon Evans, 1, 2, 3 times from Javon. Really cool for an NXT guy to get 3 matches here on this list. All right, and you Cody Crybabies, 1, 2, only 2, but 2 in the top 9. So obviously 2023 and 2024 were the year for Cody Rhodes. He did take a backseat for John Cena, and we'll see where he lands in 2026. But still, he showed that he can obviously still go at a tip-top tier level. AJ Styles, 2026 is your last year probably, but you made the list twice. I would wonder how many times you would make it in 2026 for however long it makes. For however long that year lasts, I would love to see, and my projection would be much higher than 2. Ilya, you made it twice. You were out all year, but you did a great job being a U.S. champion. Way to make it twice, buddy. All right, and the most polarizing guy all year was probably Jey Uso, right? But let's see how he did on the list. 1, 2. He had the Rumble match where he won, shockingly, and then he had above par Seth Rollins match. So again, I don't think it's a terrible year for Jey Uso. Probably the most charismatic guy out of the year for me. And all right, guys, that will be it for this little countdown for the WWE matches. 24 4.25 plus matches on the year, plus one, but really plus another one because of the solo fuck up. But hey, it is what it is, guys. We're not perfect over here with our spreadsheets and whatnot. I fucked that up. And if you watch this on YouTube, go to the audio feed, check out our long form stuff. If you listen on audio, go to YouTube, give us a sub, give us a follow, give us all that stuff, and check it out as well. So we'll see you soon, guys. Thank you.